Barely had he been in office than he was coming under fire. Questions raised. What did he know? What did he do? And when? Pope Benedict was at the centre of a crisis over decades of child abuse by clergy.
So what we're seeing is a global phenomenon in a global church, a global system at work, with the Vatican at its centre.
They were questions that began long before he became Pope, when he was known as Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger. For 23 years he was working far from the public gaze as the Vatican's chief investigator into allegations of abuse by priests.
In 2001 he wrote to every bishop in the world, telling them in the letter that every case of a priest who abused a child was to be referred to his department at the Vatican.
Now he was Pope, his decisions would define his papacy and shape his legacy. Abuse had been discovered across the Catholic world, the United States, Holland, Spain, Switzerland, Brazil, even in his native Germany. In 1980, when the Pope was still a bishop in Germany, he oversaw the case of a priest involved in child abuse. The Pope moved the priest from one diocese to another, his own, so that the priest could get therapy. Several years later, the priest was convicted of child abuse. The Pope's critics say he should have paid more attention at the time and taken child abuse more seriously. Pope Benedict could no longer hide from the critics. There were plenty of abuse victims, and they weren't afraid to speak out. The Irish in particular had suffered badly, demanding compensation from the church.
I was taken down these stairs, only had a nightdress on, was pulled over my head, I was left naked. A 6'4" religious brother stood on my hands, and I was naked, and another guy had a whip.
My hope is
all looked again to the former cardinal, now Pope Benedict, as horror upon horror was heaped at the Vatican's door.
It's the central charge against the Vatican. That is of a deliberate, concerted cover-up that sought to protect the Church, its authority and above all its money, instead of protecting children.
We need him to say that he will get rid of all bishops and cardinals who were involved in the cover-up of abuse of children and start again. The Church needs to reinvent itself and start again.
But it was not to be. Instead, Pope Benedict merely sent a letter for his clergy to read out in services.
He says to them, "You have suffered grievously, and I am truly sorry."
Cardinal Sean Brady, who himself admitted keeping the actions of one abusing priest from the Irish police, was assigned by the Pope to lead the Church's response in Ireland. He personally read out the papal letter, offering apology and strict guidelines for the future.
The Holy Father offers very stern words to priests and religious who have abused children.
But the words were where it ended. The only action called for the faithful to pray for their priests. No compensation.
Some initiatives suggested include offering up Friday penances for the coming year, fasting, offering up works of mercy, and reading the Scriptures.
Pope Benedict's letter fell so far short of Irish Catholic expectations, even priests lost faith in the Pope's handling of the child abuse crisis.
It will lead them to a heavy heart and a sense of helplessness and powerlessness, and to some extent demoralised for that reason.
There was a real sense Pope Benedict was attempting to dodge responsibility.
I'm afraid I share that view, that the paper trail, if it goes as it seems to, if it goes to the desks in the Vatican, of course the Vatican must be answerable.
For some parishioners, Benedict's letter was enough to drive them from the church.
We, as people of Ireland, feel that his letter this week is essentially an insult. It says that this is an Irish problem. It's not an Irish problem. This is a problem within the Church.
For many, Pope Benedict had failed.
Only when the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth comes out. Until then, I don't see the healing cannot take place until the truth is out.
Maybe now the truth will come out, but Pope Benedict's legacy is set. The Church's earthly riches protected, but many of the Church's faithful left wondering if they are spiritually poorer for it.